Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you a few facts about Edinburgh, the capital city of Scotland. And as you know, Scotland used to have a referendum over becoming independent. It was, I believe, 18 September 2014. Actually, it didn't go through, so it means that Scottish guys still stick to Great Britain and there will be no split of these two, let's say, very ancient nations. And it gives us a little bit of quite interesting facts. But let's go from the very beginning and let me tell you some distinction, especially from tax and bookkeeping, let's say, facts about Scottish system. Of course, it's been part of Great Britain, so they have the same system as Great Britain has. But the autonomy of Scottish guys is much higher than you could imagine. They have got even autonomy in personal and corporate income tax. The power is given to Scottish Parliament, which means that they could make some slight changes according to constitution. They couldn't do, let's say, great changes in tax rate, but they could do some slight changes. I asked the specialists in bookkeeping department in the company I was hosting, but they explained me well they have never dared either decrease or increase income tax rate, both corporation tax and personal income tax. The point, probably they were very, very afraid of some uncertain movement in changes of capital, labor force, of anything, as as we know, we are very, very deep in global age. So they've got Scottish Parliament, and if you go to Edinburgh, you would see quite controversial building. It's Scottish Parliament near Holyrood Palace. Very old and very beautiful, let's say, palace. It's working palace actually, in which Queen Elizabeth likes to spend holiday in Scotland. But nearby you could see and you could meet, like, let's say, very controversial building, which is, in my opinion, not nice. But some Scots are very proud of it. But the quite interesting point is that the budget of the building was about 4 times more expensive than it was forecast. So the same problems, I would say, the same or similar corruption problems we have in Czech Republic. So Scottish guys in border context, they could have some small changes as to legislation of tax and bookkeeping, but from parliamental point of view they didn't do at the point. What's interesting, Edinburgh as city, it's always touch about, let's say, Edinburgh Castle. But before we climb to the hill, let's focus a little bit on sea. Sea is not far away, and it's in something which is called Leith Harbor or Leith Port, and there is probably the most visited site in Edinburgh, and it's Royal Yacht. Since 17th century, all British or English monarchs, they used to have a yacht, but last generation doesn't have any. So there is the last yacht ever existed, but it stopped, let's say, its activity in 1994. This yacht you could see in the pictures, it is a Britannia, bears name Britannia, and it was established and put on water or on ocean waters 1954. It was living for 40 consecutive years. They were hosting people like Bill Clinton, I think Gandhi, or whoever almost from, let's say, uh, very well known people. But I understood why. They stopped, as I think in the age of computers which we live right now, it became obsolete despite in 50s where it was put on water, it was full of brand new technology. So you could go through all, I think, chambers of the ship, or let's say decks. It's got about 7 decks indeed, which is unbelievable. But you see the technology is very good for 50s, but not for 2014 or 15. So I think that even governing Queen Elizabeth decided to stop operating the ship as it wasn't advanced, and due to, let's say, austerity measures, just she said, well, we do not need ships if we have to, let's say, save some money. So last existing ship is put, let's say, on ice and works no more. So it's open to public. It's in Edinburgh, and everybody who visits Edinburgh, I think it's very worth going there. You could see chambers of Princess Diana, her small kids at the age of 80s, Prince William, Prince Harry, especially room where they, let's say, shared and passed honeymoon in 80s, and you could see magnificent dining room in which all, let's say, famous guests, American presidents or others, were having dinner together with British Queen. Edinburgh Castle, that's a different story. At the hillside, magnificent medieval structure, and I think all big, let's say, famous heroes are present in statues. I could say, for example, writers, Robert Burns, Walter Scott, and let's say from historical person, Robert Bruce, William Wallace, all of them they are present. So Scottish were almost, I would say, according to figures given up there, were in some sort of rebellion against English guys, so they were always at war. There is also in Edinburgh Castle National War Memorial. So Scottish guys, on the one hand, were fighting against English men, and secondly, after, let's say, tighter reunion with Great Britain, they were present at, let's say, First World War, Second World War, and they fell in hundreds, thousands, and even more guys. So they were very good at war, and they've got in Castle a very nice and proud, I would say, national memorial. Well, let's turn page. Scotch whiskey, that's a different story. So we did visit a Scotch whiskey museum, which is, I think, worth seeing, especially for those guys who like whiskey, who enjoy spirits, hard drinks, and you are being taught up there which classification whiskey has, and especially whiskey regions up in Scotland, together with especially the way you should enjoy whiskey most. So first of all, you should, let's say, sniff the flair of whiskey by having it in glass. Then you could probably, secondly, you should shake whiskey and make whiskey turn in the glass and enjoy the color of whiskey, how much oakish it actually is. And then you should enjoy, let's say, viscosity or thickness of whiskey. That means how thick it is, if it's something like honey or something like water. Fourth step to enjoy is to drink and swallow, and after swallowing, the fifth and the last step is to wait for final flair you get after swallowing, let's say, tumble of whiskey. So very good idea for those who want to learn how to drink and how to enjoy whiskey. Then you definitely should visit and walk through, let's say, Royal Mile, which is the only direct street leading from Holyrood Palace up to Edinburgh Castle, so up the hill. And by the end of this, let's say, street, you will see Holyrood Palace, as I already mentioned, working palace, in which Queen Elizabeth likes to spend time, and in which you can admire also chambers of Mary Queen of Scots, whose, let's say, husband and lover were assassinated in the palace. And right in front of this magnificent palace, you can enjoy and admire brand new House of Scottish Parliament dating 2004, and all of or both these buildings are, I would say, at very controversial point of view, as you see classical, Renaissance, and medieval building, and as the opposite, you see brand new, modern building, which is very, very different from classical style. So the last question is Edinburgh worth seeing? I'm sure definitely is. Very interesting political system, very interesting tax issues, and I would say history is even breathtaking. So feel free to go to Edinburgh.